So the grandmother asked the grandchild whether he likes jalebis. So the grandchild replied, "Yes, very much. But whose hands are they?" I asked, "coming up from the other side?" Grandmother squinted and looked closely at the picture, shaking her head. "It's the first time I've noticed. They must have been a child's, another child's." So the boy was very much curious to know whose hands were placed on that wall, and that too from the other side of the wall. But even the grandmother failed to recognize it, because the grandmother hasn't noticed it till now. It's now she's seeing that. So the grandmother squinted and looked closely at the picture. Squinted means to close eyes partly, like when especially the old people, when they are not able to see things, they'll just bring the picture or the paper closer to them and they'll just partly close their eyes, right? This is what I mean by squinted, to partly close the eyes, and because they could not see the things clearly. So she squinted and looked closely at the picture, shaking her head, and said that even she hasn't noticed it till now. And she guessed that it must be a child's hands, another child's hands. Were they grandfather's? Didn't he climb over the wall afterwards? No, nobody climbed up. At least I don't remember. But you have a good memory, Granny. So the boy had a guess that those hands were grandfather's, but it was not grandfather's. And she remembers that nobody climbed up that wall at that time. She behaved as if she cannot recall that. She behaved as if she cannot recall that whose hands were they. But the child encouraged the grandmother by saying that, "Granny, you have a very good memory. Come on, recall." He encouraged his grandmother. "Yes, I do. I remember what is not in the photograph. It was a spring day and there was a cool breeze blowing. Those flowers at the girl's feet, they were marigolds, and the bougainvillea creeper was a mass of pink. You can't see those colors in the photo, and even if you could, you wouldn't be able to smell the flowers or feel the breeze." Now when the child insisted the grandmother to speak more about it, the grandmother said, "Anyways, I don't remember about the person who kept those hands over that wall, but still I remember the day. It was a spring day and there was a cool breeze blowing. And those flowers at the girl's feet, they were marigolds. Marigolds means they are the flowers which is yellow in color. And the bougainvillea creeper that we can see here, look at the flowers, marigolds are there, here and there marigolds we can see, right? Look at this. This is called as bougainvillea. These flowers are bougainvillea creepers, which is pink in color." So grandmother said that you couldn't see those colors in the photo because the photo is already faded, so you cannot see the exact color of those flowers. But still, even if you can see the flowers, still you won't be able to get that smell which we had at that time, or feel the breeze, the cool breeze that they had at that time. "And what about the girl? Tell me about her." "Well, she was a naughty girl," said grandmother. "She used to go swimming in the canal. The neighbors were shocked. Boys never teased her because she didn't hesitate to fight them." So when the child kept on asking more and more questions, the grandmother again said the next part of the photograph, that the girl who is in the picture, she was a naughty girl. Now the grandmother speaks more about that girl. She was a girl who used to go swimming in the canal. Can you guess? Can you imagine a girl swimming in the canal? And all the neighbors were shocked at this sight. Boys never teased her. Boys never made fun of her, because she didn't hesitate to fight them. Hesitate means she didn't stop herself to fight with them. So the boys never dared to fight with that girl. She looks tough. You can tell by the way she smiled, by the way she is smiling. So the boy also agreed, the grandchild also agreed the fact that she looks tough. Yes, even from the picture, we can easily notice that. He said, you can tell by the way she is smiling. Look at the way she is smiling. Even from that body language, or even from the smile that she is having, we can easily say that the girl is very naughty. Look at the way she is standing. This is what I said. From the body language itself, a person's character would be evident. Yes, said grandmother. Once her mother wouldn't let her get out of her clothes, so she jumped into the canal fully clothed. I burst into laughter and grandmother joined in. Just imagine, once her mother didn't allow to get her out of the clothes, but the girl did not obey the mother's words. She just jumped into the canal with the clothes itself. Both of them really enjoyed that incident, or both of them enjoyed that scene. The child burst into laughter. The child couldn't control himself from laughing, and the grandmother also joined in. Who was the girl? I asked. You must tell me who she was. No, that I wouldn't do, said grandmother. I won't tell you. I knew the girl in the photograph was actually grandmother, but I acted as if I did not know. I knew because grandmother still smiled in the same way. Now, again, after hearing all these interesting facts about this girl, the boy again asked his grandmother to say who is the girl in the picture, but the grandmother refused to say that. The grandmother said that she won't say it to her grandchild. But the boy knew that the girl in the photograph was actually grandmother. But he also pretended as if he didn't understand that it is grandmother. Now, how did he recognize that it is grandmother who is in the picture? Yes, that smile, that wicked smile the girl had, it's still there in grandmother. That smile, the grandmother smiled in the same way like how the girl in the picture smiled. Come on, Granny, I said. Tell me, tell me. So he insisted too much to say who is in the picture, but grandmother didn't say. But grandmother shook her head and carried on with her knitting. I held the photograph in my hands, looking from it to my grandmother and back again, trying to find points in common between the old lady and the little girl. So grandmother just continued. The grandmother just nodded her head and continued with her knitting. The boy, who understood that it is grandmother who's in the picture, he tried to figure out the common elements of these two, the common elements which grandmother and the girl had. I wonder whose hands they were. whispered grandmother to herself, with her head bowed in memory in the soft, warm silence of that summer afternoon. So, in spite of the boy insisting so much, the grandmother to say who is in the picture, still the grandmother did not reveal it. The lesson ends with the dialogue, I wonder whose hands they were, and even the other matter is not disclosed, which is that whose hands were placed on that wall, right? Who was a man or who was a boy who tried to climb over the wall. So the grandmother asking this to herself, saying this to herself, I wonder whose hands they were. By saying this dialogue, she dwells herself in the beautiful memories of her childhood. She relaxed herself with the warm silence of that summer afternoon, dwelling herself in those beautiful memories of her childhood days. With this, the lesson ends. Now, Ruskin Bond has brought many interesting elements in this story, right? In terms of memories, acceptance, changes, and so on. The most interesting fact in this lesson is both the grandchild and the grandmother understood who is in the picture, but both of them did not reveal it, right? We may wonder why grandmother hasn't revealed it. Perhaps she might be embarrassed to say that she was the one who is in the picture, as she was naughty. She didn't want her grandchild to know that grandmother was very naughty in her youth or when she was young, and she was a person who did not obey her mother. It is also possible that the grandmother wants her grandchild to grow by respecting elders and obeying them, unlike how she was when she was young. The other interesting fact is, though the time has passed on, the grandmother has become old and her eyes were a little weak, still she finds out happiness. She tries to be very happy and enjoy her life, enjoy her old age with her grandchild by expressing her love and care, by knitting the pullover for the child and sharing a valuable time, a quality time with her grandchild. Though she misses her childhood days, which was full of freedom and happiness, still she accepts the fact that life keeps on changing, or the age stages keep on changing. Change is an inevitable part in one's life. So she happily accepts that fact and tries to find out happiness by engaging in activities which makes her happy, right? Then the other interesting element is the suspense part. Even at the end of the lesson, it's not revealed or it's not disclosed whose hands were they. So with this, we shall end today's lesson. Hope you all have enjoyed this beautiful story. Now you may write a paragraph describing about the good moments that you have had with your grandparents. We'll see you in the next class, children. Thank you.